What's up guys, it's MTGMatt for you, and today we've got all the last preview cards, all the spoilers are out there, with also some last juicy rares in there, which I'll show you right in the beginning, so make sure you watch the whole video to the end. And in total it's about 80 cards, so let's get into it. I want to keep this rather short, so let's go to the first one. The last ultimatum. It's Genesis Ultimatum in Temur colors. Again, 7 mana sorcery, as all the ultimatums are, in green, blue, and red. Which says, look at the top 5 cards of your library, put any number of permanent cards from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest into your hand. Exile Genesis Ultimatum. So, you're gonna play this in Temur. Which means you can simply build a deck that consists only of permanents if you wish to do so. In which case this would be 7 mana, put 5 cards from library onto the battlefield, which is insane value. And I think among the sorceries, this is one of the sorceries which is it's very safe to assume that you're actually going to be able to play this at 7 mana without, the need to cheat this out or anything. Because when I think Temur, I think, for example, Elementals and these kind of decks tend to have like super much ramp, a lot of mana available, and in that case 7 mana isn't actually that unrealistic to cast, and then the effect itself is super powerful. So I'll give it 4 stars, maybe even with tendency to 5 stars. Very good card, I like it a lot. Next up we got Titan's Nest. So for all these 3-color cycles, so to say, there has been a 4-mana enchantment for each, and this is the final one for Sultai. 4 mana, black, green, and blue enchantment. It says, at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. So basically, at the beginning of your upkeep, you survey 1. And then you exile a card from your graveyard to add colorless mana. Spend this mana only to cast a colored spell without X in its mana cost. So, like, really upfront, there is already a restriction to Hydroid Crassus, for example, because Hydroid Crassus would be an excellent way to pump mana into with your graveyard and draw a bunch of cards. You can't do that because of the restriction. That being said, the first effect is quite useful. The first effect is like from Search for Iskanta, which turned out to be very great. However, there needs to be said that Search for Iskanta used to come down on turn 2, whereas, let me just adjust this a bit. Whereas this is going to come down the earliest on turn 4. But the passive effects is still very nice to just filter through your deck and get stuff into your graveyard. And then you can basically ramp with cards in your graveyard. Now, the problem I see with this card is that you're going to play this in a 3-color deck, which means you're probably going to play a lot of multicolored cards. And multicolored cards, just by their nature, tend to have like less generic mana in their mana cost. So I think that the ramp here isn't going to be that crazy. It can help you, like no doubt about that. But I still doubt a bit the power level of this card. I don't think it's too crazy actually, but I think this is one of those cards it's hard to theory craft about. You really have to try it in game. So I'll give this the benefit of the doubt and give it 4 stars, but with the feeling that I'm actually generous here. I probably think that it's a 3-star card, but time will tell. Next up we got the last companion here. It's Yorion Sky Nomad, a 5 mana 4/5 in Azorius colors with flying, Bird Serpent, which has a companion requirement. Your starting deck contains at least 20 cards more than the minimum deck size. So if you play this in standard constructed, your deck would need to have at least 80 cards for this to start to be your companion. And that's the effect: when Yorion enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you own and control. Return those cards to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Now, first of all, I want to say that the companion requirement here is the worst requirement of all the companions by far. Like, building 80 card decks just to have this in your starting hand makes no sense to me, because if you were to build a deck that wants to abuse the enter the battlefield effect of Yorion, then just by the fact that you have 80 cards in your deck, you're so much less likely to hit those key pieces you want to have to, you know, get repeated enter the battlefield effects through Yorion. So, like, those two purposes or targets, they just contradict each other. And that's why I think this companion requirement is absolutely terrible. Don't play it. I wouldn't play it at all. And then if we look at the card outside of the companion mechanic, just as the 5-mana 4/5 flyer with the enter the battlefield effect, the effect can be quite powerful in the right deck. And in blue, actually, 5-mana 4/5 flyer is also not bad at all, right? So I give this 3 stars because I don't think you can reliably use its companion mechanic. And then if you cut out the companion mechanic, it's a 4/5 flyer with a fairly strong enter battlefield effect, which needs to be in the right deck though, so I give it 3 stars. But I would definitely say that of all the companion creatures, just from the point of view of the companion mechanic, this is the worst companion of all. And then the last mythos has been revealed. This is also the last rare card for today's preview. All cards from here on now are going to be commons and uncommons. So there's Mythos of Illuna, 4-mana sorcery, which says create a token that's a copy of target permanent. And if red-green was spent to cast a spell, instead create a token that's a copy of that permanent. Except the token has, when this permanent enters the battlefield, if it's a creature, it fires up to 1 target creature you don't control. So the upside there is, you know, quite nice. Nothing too like crazy or anything. So I would look at this card just from the base point of view. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent. Permanent is very interesting. You can copy basically anything, except for instants and sorceries. For 4 mana, I think that's a fairly powerful effect. And I mean, you can copy your opponent's planeswalkers, your opponent's big creatures, anything really here. And yeah, I think in 4 mana it's a nice effect. I don't think that the added benefit is going to be that relevant actually. However, you can actually, when you copy your own big creatures, if you played in a Temur deck with big creatures, you could copy your own big creature and then remove a creature from your opponent, which is, you know, nice. So this would be an added benefit. So I think maybe you can put this in a Temur deck for the main purpose of create a token that's a copy of target permanent. And if the game turns out that way, you might get this added benefit. So I think the effect is solid. It's not too super crazy or anything. So I think I would just give this 3 stars with some upside potential here, and maybe with the tendency to 4 stars, but I go ahead and give it 3 stars. And now we're going to go through all the color piles one by one. I try to keep this as short as possible. Blade Banish, 4 mana instant in white, exile target creature with power 4 or greater. You can use it in draft, but it's a 2-star, 1-star, 2-star card. You have better options in constructed. Next up, we've got Coordinate Charge, a 5 mana instant. Creatures you control get +2/+1 on end of turn, and it's got cycling 2. Now, I want to note that throughout the rest of this card preview, there are a lot of cards that have cycling 1 or 2. And my thoughts about those cards are that I can imagine a deck which is built around cycling, and where you simply put in cards just for the cycling effect to churn through your deck fast and get your cycling synergies going. So all those cards that have cycling 1 or 2, you can put them in any colored deck because cycling is, in those cases, just generic mana. So the way I would look at a card like this is the main effect is cycling 2, and then if you happen to play the deck with the right color and you're in the right situation, you can even use this card differently, right? So obviously 5 mana, all creatures get +2/+1 end of turn is terrible, but if you play this card mainly for the purpose of cycling 2, and then you have some added benefit if you happen to play white and happen to be in the right situation, that's a cool card. And that's how I'm going to look at all of these cards with these low cycling costs. So I give this 2 stars, but I want to note that because it has cycling 2, it can probably go into any cycling deck, so this gives you more options to build those decks. So, and if those decks turn out to be very strong, then maybe this is a 3-star card just because it has cycling 2. Next up we got Day Squad Marshal, 4 mana 3/3 human soldier. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 wild human soldier creature token. Nothing too fancy, it's not completely terrible. 2 stars, probably good for draft. Gives you humans. Maybe this is relevant in the meta, but probably not because there are better humans, so 2 stars. Next up, Divine Arrow. Reprint from War of the Spark. Deals 4 damage to target attacking a blocking creature. Basically a 1-star card. You can also use it in draft, so whatever, maybe it's 2 stars, but won't keep playing constructed. Next up we got Imposing Vantasaur, 6 mana 3/6 dinosaur with vigilance. It's got cycling 1, and I think all of cycling 1 cards you have to look out for them, so I'll give this 3 stars just because it has cycling 1. Very effective way of cycling, and if you're white, turn 6 you have nothing else to do, may you play as 3/6 vigilance. Next up, Light of Hope, an instant for 1 white mana. You choose 1, you gain 4 life. Destroy target enchantment or put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. I could imagine this card maybe in a sideboard if you encounter an opponent who plays a lot of enchantments, and basically that's it. Actually gives you some more flexibility. You can gain life, which is nice. The +1/+1 counter is probably irrelevant. Honestly, I think it's a 1-star card. Next up we have Manned Serval, 2 mana 1/4 cat with vigilance. Now I think this card can actually see play in Vigilance Matters deck. If you build a deck around the Vigilance keyword, you've got a 2 mana 1/4 with vigilance, and those Vigilance keyword decks are going to be able to pump up all their creatures that have vigilance. So this is fairly likely to stick on the board because it has 4 toughness. I think this can find some play in those decks maybe. So I'll give this between 2 and 3 stars. Actually 2 stars, but I think can find play in Vigilance Matters decks. Next we got Perimeter Sergeant, 3 mana 3/2 human soldier, and whenever it attacks, other humans you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. And as a human, the more humans we have, the more options we have to build human, non-human decks, or only human decks. And is this one good? Probably not, because I think if you play human tribal decks, it will be in those bonding tribal decks. And then you won't only have humans on the battlefield. So, yeah. Maybe a 2-star card, 2-star, 1-star card. Next we have Solid Footing, 1 mana enchantment aura with flash. And the enchantment creature gets +1/+1. And as long as the enchantment creature has vigilance, it assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. I don't think this card is relevant actually within the context of the new expansion, because the passive effect, so to say, I don't think it's going to be relevant. However, it's a 1-mana enchantment aura with flash, and maybe this can find some play in enchantment decks in the Pharaohs Beyond Death context to trigger your enchantment synergies, also because it has flash. So yeah, because of that, I'm going to give it 2 stars. But I don't think it's going to find any use in the context of Ikoria. And next up, whoops, actually, just adjust this. Here we go. Next we got Aegis Turtle, 1 mana and blue for 0/5. Now in standard, there still is enchantment, which lets creatures assign common damage equal to their toughness rather than their power. In those decks, a 1 mana 0/5 is pretty good. But those decks really don't matter, so 1 star. Next up, Anticipate, reprint, 2 mana instant blue. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, and the rest on one of your library in any order. It's a 3-star card, has seen some play, pretty solid. You can fetch any card for 2 mana. It's alright. Next I've got Avian Oddity, 4 mana 2 for bird with flying, and you can cycle for 3 mana. And when you do cycle, you put a flying card on entire creature you control. You know, I don't think you would use this in a cycling deck because the cycling cost is too high. And then 3 mana to give a creature permanent flying. I don't think this is good, so I give it 2 stars. Next up, Convolute, 3 mana instant, counter spell unless the controller pays 4. This is a 1-star card. I mean, you can use it in draft, but at 3 mana in blue, you have so much more better options to counter spells. 1-star card. Next up, we have Crustacean, yeah. 4 mana 1/6 flash. Crap. It's crap, 1 star. Next up, we have Facet Reader, 2 mana 1/2 human wizard, and you can pay 1 tap to draw a card and discard a card. So 1 mana to loot. It's not super garbage, so I would give it 2 stars. Next up, Frostlings. We already know this card from, I think, Throne of Eldraine. 3 mana 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you tap target creature an opponent controls. The creature doesn't untap during its control's next untap step. It's fair to say that it's an elemental, so that tribe quite matters. It's useful, I think, in draft. In constructed, not so much. So 1-star card, 1-star, 2-star card. Next up, we got Frostveil Ambush. 4 mana instant in blue, tap up to 2 target creatures. Those creatures don't untap during their control's next unstep step. Now I'm going to go ahead and give this card 3 stars. Why? Because I think if you're going to play a cycling deck, then blue is one of those colors you're going to play a cycling deck with. And so this is cycling 1 card, very good in those decks. And then even if you don't use it for a cycling ability, sure, it's super expensive, but it can really buy you some time at instant speed. So I think that's why it's a 3-star card. Let's go Glimmer Albino. Now this is interesting. 2 mana 1/3 elemental jellyfish with flying. And you can pay 2 mana to untap Glimmer Albino. Now, I give this card 2 stars, but I want to note, or maybe it's actually a 1-star card, but I want to note that the activated ability of Glimmer Albino will at some point in the future or in historic format, I think, be abused for some type of crazy combo, because the ability to really cheaply untap one of your creatures over and over again, I think there is some combo potential. I don't think if there is any combo potential right now in standard. I don't think so, actually. But look out for this card maybe in the future expansions or in the historic format. There's going to be some crazy combo with this. Next up we got Gust of Wind. It's a 4 mana sorcery in blue. Costs 2 less to cast if you control a creature with flying, and you return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand, and you draw a card. I would say don't play this card. Instead of this card, you can simply play a what's it called? Brazen Borrower. Brazen Borrower lets you return a non-land permanent at instant speed for 2 mana, and you kind of also draw a card because you then get the Brazen Borrower itself. So Brazen Borrower is straight up the better card here. So this is a 1-star card. Next time we got Hampering Snare. 2 mana instant. Creatures your opponents control get -2 -0 until end of turn, and you can cycle for 2. I'll also give this 3 stars because I could imagine that those cycling decks are going to need some time to build up their value. And in that deck, cycling 2 is still a great cost to cycle at, fairly cheap. And if you use this card for its actual effect, it can buy you some time. So 3 stars. Next time we have Mystic Subdual. 2 mana Aura with Flash, and the enchanted creature gets -2 -0 and loses all abilities. I don't think it's going to see play, so yeah. 1 star? 2 stars? Actually 2 stars. The lose all ability part makes it quite a nice removal type of card. Next we have Startling Development. 2 mana instant. Until end of turn, target creature becomes a blue serpent with base power and toughness 4/4. And cycling 1. Now this is also a really great cycling card. The art is also hilarious. So also 3 stars. You can cycle it for 1, and the effect itself is actually really powerful. You can use it aggressively to pump up a 1/1 when it's attacking on your side, or your opponent swings in with a 10/10 trample and you push it down to a 4/4. So 3 stars. Next time we have Wingspan Mentor, 3 mana 1/3 human wizard. And when it enters the battlefield, you put a flying counter on target non-human creature you control. And then you can pay 3 and tap him to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control is flying. And I think this one is one of the worst, how would you say, like keyword matters enablers. You know, we have, for a lot of keywords, we have this fact put a +1/+1 counter on those creatures. And this one is worse because I think if you play a flying deck, for example, Azorius Flyers, you already have enough power with your instants that pump up your flyers and so on, that this card would feel really clunky. And also in that kind of deck, you wouldn't even be able to use the enter the battlefield effect. And then 3 mana to put a +1/+1 counter on all your flyers. That's just bad. You have better options. If you play Azorius Flyers, I don't know, play... you know, at 3 mana you can put +1/+1 counters on your flyers in white, no problem. So for me this is a 1-star card. Next we've got Bliss Leech, 6 mana 5/2 Leech with Flash. When it enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -2 -2 until end of turn. Remove all counters from the creature, 1-star card, way too expensive. Next we got Boot Nipper, 2 mana 2/1 Beast. It enters the battlefield with your choice of a Death Touch counter or a Lifelink counter on it. I don't think it's going to see play. Although it's quite flexible with Death Touch and Lifelink, because there could be a Lifelink Matters deck in black. And then if you put this card in there, if you need it, you can put Death Touch on it. But I don't think this is going to happen, so I give it... My gut feeling says this is probably a 1-star card, yeah. Next we got Cold's Turn, 2 mana instant in black. Put the top 3 cards of a library into your graveyard, then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So, if you play a graveyard type of deck, there's basically 2 mana, draw a card, and put 2 cards in your graveyard, which isn't super bad, but at 2 mana you have, for example, creatures with enter the battlefield effects in Golgari that give you similar effects. and you have the added benefit of having a body on the battlefield. So I don't think that's going to see play. Also, it's nice to have the option of this card. So I'll give it 1 star. Next up, Dark Bargain, 4-mana instant. Look at top 3 cards of your library, put 2 of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Dark Bargain is 2 damage to you. Also too expensive. 1 star. Maybe it's a 2-star card actually. Next up, Dead Weight. Now we already know that card. It's a 1-mana aura and the child creature gets -2/-2. It's a 3-star card. It's actually a nice anti-aggro option in the early game. 3 stars. Next up, we got Durable Coilbug. 2-mana, 2/2 insect, and for 5-mana you can return it from your graveyard to your hand. It's a 1-star card. It's just too expensive. If you need this effect, then you can use the skeleton from M20, which has the same effect, just cheaper. 1 star. Oh yeah, actually we've got one more rare. I forgot about that one. It's Hunted Nightmare, 3-mana, 4/5, Nightmare with Menace. And when it enters the battlefield, target opponent puts a death touch counter on a creature they control. I'm going to give this card 4 stars, because I think you put this in your Menace tribal deck. Then you get a 4/5 for 3 mana, which is excellent. And I don't think that the downside actually matters, because either your opponent doesn't have any creatures on the board, or if he does, with Menace it's actually hard to block your creatures anyway. So I think in this Menace Matters deck, that's a 4-star card. Really cool. Next we got Lurking Deadeye, 4-mana, 4/2 human assassin with flash. And when it enters the battlefield, you destroy a target creature that was dealt damage this turn. You can use it in draft. Besides that, it's pretty garbage, so 1 star. So next up we got Memory Leak, a 3-mana sorcery in black, which says target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from its player's graveyard or hand and exile it, and it's got Cycling 1. Now this card you have to look out for 2 reasons. The first reason is the one I already mentioned. It's got Cycling 1, it's generic mana, you can put it into any colored cycling deck, and in those decks it's great, so for that purpose alone 3 stars. But then more notably, you have to consider this. Yesterday in the review, we talked about the Unpredictable Cyclone, the 5-mana red enchantment, which says whenever you cycle a card, you exile the top cards of your library until you hit a card that shares a card type with that card, and then you cast the card without paying its mana cost. Now this is a sorcery that you can cycle. You know what else is a sorcery? All the ultimatums that got revealed in the previews. Which means you can cycle this card for 1, hit one of the ultimatums, if you build your deck right, and have these huge effects, cheat out a 7-mana ultimatum, and basically win a game. And also you still draw a card because of the cycling effect. So just because of that, you have to look out for this card. This is going to be, I think, a crazy combo enabler. Next up we got Mutual Destruction. 1-mana sorcery in black. It has flash as long as you control a permanent with flash. And as an additional cost, cast a spell, sacrifice creature, and you destroy target creature. Maybe this card could see play in a Dimir flash deck. We've seen this nightmare creature that would support that. You have to sacrifice a creature though, which is quite a harsh requirement. I don't know if that's going to be possible in that deck. So I think I'm going to give this 2 stars. Next up we got Night Squad Commando, 3-mana, 2/3 human soldier. When it enters the battlefield, if you attack this turn, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Yeah, I don't think it's even good in draft. I give this 1 star. Next up we have Serrated Scorpion, 1 and a 1/2 Scorpion. And when it dies, it deals 2 damage to each opponent and you gain 2 life. The die effect is actually quite powerful, I think, for a 1-mana drop. And I don't know, maybe you can abuse this card somehow in some weird graveyard recursion manner. I could see a world where this happens, and maybe you play Taser Karlov, get multiple on death triggers. I think there's some potential in this card. I give it 2 stars, but I think the effect is actually really quite powerful. And maybe it can even fit in like black aggro deck. So next up we got Suffocating Fumes, 3-mana instant. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 until end of turn. It's got Cycling 2. I also give this 3 stars for the same reason. I gave this Sorcery in black 3 stars. Cycling 2, again great, can go into any cycling deck. And it's an instant, so you can also cheap out instants from your Unpredictable Cyclone. For that reason, 3 stars. And next up we got Unexpected Fangs. 2-mana instant, put a +1/+1 counter and the lifelink counter on target creature. I think at 2 mana at instant speed, this is quite a nice effect for just 2 mana. Lifelink is a quite like one of the better keywords. +1/+1 counter is just nice to have. Yeah, so maybe you can put this even into a lifelink matter stack, something like that. I would look out for this card. Maybe it's some potential, but for the moment I give it 2 stars. Next up we've got Unlikely 8, 2-mana instant. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. This card is already in standard from War of the Spark. I've never seen it being played, so I give it 1 star. Let's go Whisper Squad. Now I love this card. 1-mana 1/1 human soldier, and for 2 mana, activated ability. Search your library for a card named Whisper Squad, put it onto the battlefield tab, then shuffle your library. I love this card, it's so cool. Such a simple design, but can give you more cards to play with, basically. Maybe in a human matter stack, an aggressive human deck. Maybe there's going to be like an Orzhov human tribal deck, and in this deck this could fit in. I could see this being played. And then it's basically like, imagine you had Whisper Squad in your hand, then you have to pay 1 mana to put it on the battlefield, right? Now here you pay 2 mana, so you basically pay 1 mana to draw a card. It's a bit worse than that because Whisper Squad enters the battlefield tap, but you can activate this at instant speed, so you can do this on your opponent's turn, and then when it's your turn, it simply untaps. I love this card. I think it's so cool that I'm going to give it 3 stars. It's probably not gonna matter, but I want to give it the benefit of the doubt because I think it's so cool. 3 stars. Let's go about Blazing Volley. 1-mana sorcery in red. Deals 1 damage to each creature opponents control. Maybe you can put this in a sideboard if your opponent is super aggressive with little tokens, but I don't think so. Then you have better options, so I give this 1 star. Next we got Blisterous Spit Gremlin, a 1-mana 1/1. And you can pay 1 mana and tap it to deal 1 damage to each opponent. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, untap Blisterous Spit Gremlin. Now, if it didn't have the 1 mana cost, I think this would be an excellent card, but then it would probably be overpowered. At this stage, since it has a mana cost, I don't think it's going to see play, so 1 mana. 1 star. Next up, Ferocious Tigorilla. 4 mana 4/3 Cat Ape. When it enters the battlefield, with your choice of a trample counter or menace counter on it. Now there's going to be maybe these trample or menace tribal decks, but in those decks I think you have better options than this 4 mana 4/3, so 1 star. Next up, Frenzied Rampler, 3 mana 4/2, 1 star. Haten Reflexes, 1 mana instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 until the end of turn, and you put a first icon on it. I think it's a 3-star card. Putting First Strike on any creature permanently, I think is pretty powerful. First Strike is a really good keyword. And the +1/+0 combined with this First Strike is a nice combat trick. So I think 3 stars. Next up we've got Lava Serpent. It's a 6 mana 5/5 with haste. and cycling 2. It's got cycling 2, so I'll give it 3 stars. Apart from that, it's pretty bad. Next up, we've got this cool fella here, Prickly Marmoset. 3 mana 2/3 monkey. It's got first strike, and whenever you cycle a card, Prickly Marmoset gets +2/+0 until end of turn. I think 3 mana 2/3 first strike is actually pretty solid, and in a cycle deck the effect is also pretty solid. But I'm not sure that cycle decks are going to be aggressive, and if they are, I think the fail on this card is that it should have trample instead of first strike, because sure it has first strike, but you still can block it even if it's pumped up to be a 4/3, 6/3, and so on. So unfortunately, I think this is a 2-star card, 2-star, 1-star card. Next up we got Pyroceratops, 4 mana 2/3. I just want to point out for a moment that we've got a lot of elementals in this expansion. So maybe just in general, apart from this card, we're going to see a comeback of elemental decks. It's a 4 mana 2/3 trample, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on Pyroceratops. Now, in standard, we have Spellgorger Weird from War of the Spark, which is a 3 mana 2/2, I think, which doesn't have trample but has the same passive effect. And if you want to have the passive effect, I think you just play the Spellgorger, because then you get this ability one turn earlier. So I think, yeah, this is a 2-star, 1-star card. Probably a 1-star card. Next up we have Raking Claws, 2 mana instant. Target creature gets double strike at the end of turn and cycling 2. So this card is actually, I think, really good. I mean, double strike is really, really powerful. For just 2 mana, you get an instant, and I mean, we've seen Embercleave being played in red aggro, mostly for the double strike, and actually also the trample. But here you pay 2 mana, so that's very fair. It's really good, and it's got cycling 2, so you can, like, cycling 2 is just great by itself, and then you can also trigger instants with your unpredictable cyclone. So great card. I would give it 3 stars, but probably even in the direction of 4 stars. Next up we have Rumbling Rockslide, 4 mana sorcery, and it deals damage to target creature equal to the number of lands you control. 1-star card. 4 mana, you can do better stuff. Next up, 3 mana 3/2 Spell Eater Wolverine. It has double strike as long as there are 3 or more instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Pretty powerful. I think in the right deck this can easily be a 3 mana 3/2 double strike, which is pretty, like, really powerful. Because in that case, like a 3 mana 6/2. But better, because double strike is better than that. And is it going to see play? Probably not, but I have to give it 1 star, I think, but I think it's actually quite solid, so maybe it's a 2-star card. Next up we've got Adventurous Impulse, 1 mana sorcery in green. You look at the top 3 cards of your library, you may reveal a creature or land card from among them, put it into your hand, and you put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. I think it's a 3-star card. It has seen some play when it was in standard. You just pay 1 mana to specifically filter out the card from top 3 cards of your deck in green. So you can use this to basically make your deck thinner, which is always a good thing. So I give this 3 stars. Next up we have Excavation Mole, 3 mana 3/3 mole, with trample, and when it enters the battlefield you put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Yeah, if you want to mill your graveyard, you have better options, and a 3 mana 3/3 trample. Is it going to matter? Maybe the tramples matter deck, but even then I don't think so. So I give this 2 stars. Next up we got Flycatcher Girafit, 5 mana 3/5 Antelope Lizard. And when it enters the battlefield, with your choice of Vigilance counter or Reach counter on it. 1-star card, way too expensive. Here we've got Great Ascender, 7 mana 7/7. Can be blocked by creatures power 2 or less, and it's got Cycling 2. 3-star card because Cycling 2, and it's a huge creature with, can't be blocked, and maybe this is nice. I think, given all the cards that we've seen in Ikoria, which can cheat out, stuff from graveyards or your library, I think the more big creatures we have in Standard, the more powerful these cards get. So just having a 7/7 in the meta makes this card, because of that, maybe better. So 3 stars. Next up we have Honey Mammoth, 6 mana 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 4 life, 1 star. Harmless Naturalist, 2 mana 1/3 human druid. And you can tap to add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only cast a creature spell. I think Paradise Druid is simply better, or all the other mana dogs at 2 mana. So unfortunately I have to give this 1 star. And we're almost done. We've got Ivy Elemental, costs X in green. It's an elemental and it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. So this is usually like a Hydra effect. I don't see a world where you want to play this, because it doesn't have any other keyword. If it had Trample, great. But this way, it's a 1-star card. If you want to play a similar card, simply play a Stonecoil Serpent. Plummet, we already know that card. It's at most a sideboard card, 2 stars. Got Ramthrough now. This is actually a nice card. 2 mana instant in green. And target creature you control is damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. If the creature you control is trample, excess damage is dealt to that creature's control instead. 3-star card, nice removal card for green at instant speed. And if you have a trample heavy deck, then you can also hurt your opponent, which is great. And note that the creature deals damage to your opponent. So if combat damage to opponents matters, and for some cards it does matter, as we've seen in this expansion, then this card gets even better. So I'll give this 3 stars. And next up we have Sun Spinrits, 1 mana, instant in green. Target creature gets +1/+3 at the end of turn. Put a reach counter on it, untap it. Now the only reason I could imagine that this is going to see play is because of the untap it part. Part of that's pretty bad, 1 star. Next up, Survivor's Bond, 2 mana sorcery in green. Choose one or both. Return target human creature card from your graveyard to your hand, or return target non-human creature card from your graveyard to your hand, or do both. If played in the right deck, it's 2 mana, get 2 cards, which is very good. However, I'm not sure if the human non-human archetype is going to be. Yeah, I mean it could be good in green because of Selesnya. But I don't think it's going to see play, so I give it a 1 star. Next up, Adaptive Shimmerer, 5 mana, insect, colorless with flash. Enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. Absolute garbage, 1 star. Next up, Sleeper Dart, 2 mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. And you can tap it, sacrifice it, and target creature doesn't untap during its control's next untap step. I think this card actually has some merit in Doom Foretold decks. It's another artifact that draws a card for 2 cards, for 2 mana. And then you have even some added benefit. You can sacrifice it to protect yourself. So I think in Doom Foretold decks this is actually quite solid. So because of Doom Foretold decks, maybe this is a, let's say, between a 2 and a 3-star card. Then Springjaw Trap, 1 mana artifact with flash, and you can pay 4 mana, tap it, sacrifice it, deals 3 damage to end target. It's garbage, 1 star. And then the last card in expansions, or the last cards, we get the land cycles again with the dual lands that end the battlefield tap and gain you 1 life. Plus an Evolving Wilds. We already know that those dual lands are probably 3-star cards. Evolving Wilds I don't know, maybe 2-star cards. But yeah, and those are actually all the cards from Ikoria. So thanks for watching, guys. Has been a lot of fun reviewing all those cards. I'm really excited for Ikoria. I think this is going to be like one of the best expansions we've had during MTG Arena so far. I'm really looking forward to it. Next Thursday, April 16th, it's going to be the time where it all starts. So stay tuned. I'll be doing videos on gaming then again. And if you liked it, please don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. I see you guys on the next one.